Welcome back, viewers. Many thanks for tuning in and choosing Daisak TV as your channel of choice. Well, we want to discuss about human resource kind of category of what to do during job recruitment. But since my guest has an emergency, I have a surprise for you. I have my co-host here who is Kelvin Mungai, and a lot of people are anxious to know who is this guy Kelvin Mungai. So today we are gonna be knowing who is Kelvin Mungai.
Well, who is Kelvin Mungai?
Yes.
It's honestly not something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, but I would say that Kelvin is he's a fearless pursuer of what he believes in and what he is especially interested and passionate about. Now, from a very young age, I think even my parents knew that once I set my mind on doing something, regardless of how dangerous it was, no amount of beating could veer me off the path.
So what was you growing like?
Well, without mentioning the year that I was born in, because nikitaja mwaka nitajoma pictures. I was born in Thika at the time, but my parents and I were living in a place called Kagondoine, which is where my grandparents lived, or my grandmother still lives there. I had what I would call a normal childhood. You know, what you are ocha. You wake up, and before you have had your breakfast, the kids from the neighborhood have already come to call you to go out and play. And then you'd leave the house in clean clothes, and you would come back covered in mud from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, and your mother would beat you up. That was the norm of every day. I don't think there's a day when my mom didn't beat me for because I left the house clean and came back looking like a garden that could be planted.
Wow, that description of a young boy. It's interesting, but were you the bad boy though?
No. Interestingly enough, I am a good. I am. I'm not sure if I still am or if somewhere along the way I became bad, but I am a good child. I believe I still am a good child to both of my parents. I did not have any disciplinary issues coming up, even in school. I think the only times when there was conflict between me and my parents or me and my teachers was when I set my mind on doing something that my parents and my teachers prohibited the doing of. For instance, being an adventurous boy, I would sometimes decide that I'd wake up and go ride my bike. You know, at the time, there was no tarmac road in Kagondoine. So the vehicles would use different sections. They would like sort of zigzag, trying to avoid the potholes on the road. And so our parents had cautioned us against driving or riding our bikes on the road because safety issues. You could veer to the side of the vehicle that is veering away from a pothole, and then, you know, an accident. But if I determined that I wanted to go to a certain place and I had to use the road, then I would use the road. And then, you know, back in those days was when a child belonged to the society. So nikipatana na wamama kama watano kwa barabara na kila mmoja wao anahakikisha amenichuna. Nikirudi home nimefura macho juu ya kulia. Mamangu ananiuliza kwa nini nimefura macho. Being a child, I explained to her nimechunwa na fulani na fulani na fulani. Ananiuliza kwa nini walikuchuna juu nilikuwa kwa barabara naongezewa vita.
So away from those mischievous, kiddish like kind of things you used to do, what is that one thing you did and you still remember up to now?
The one thing I did, actually there are two things that I did that I still remember, and it's some things that my mom keeps on reminding me about. At one time, I drank diesel. There's quite an interesting story behind it. At those times, hakukuwa na petrol stations, Ocha. And my grandfather had this Toyota Stout. It was a green one. I remember tulikuwa tunaita Kiahulia. And I had so much adoration for the vehicle because of the speeds that it would attain. And I knew that these were speeds that I could not attain on my bike. And then I also saw that the people who were going with the Toyota Stout at the time, those people who would help my grandfather with the shamba chores, that they were also very, very fast. And so I approached one of them one day and asked him, mbona mnakuanga na mbio hivyo? And so, you know,
so you meant the car.
No, the car and them, my grandfather helping hands. So in a joking manner, he told me, unaonanga ile mtungi yenye sisi uweka kwa Kiahulia, inakuanga na diesel. So ukivuta, unameza diesel kidogo, alafu hiyo ingine unaweka kwa gari. Hiyo ndo utufanya tukuwe na mbio.
No.
And so, idea. I'll drink diesel and become fast. Well, I did, and it did not go well. So it did not go well. I think I was admitted in the hospital for a few days, and then I was released.
That is so literal. Like, you drink.
I think it goes as a cautionary tale to what our parents and our guardians tell their kids. I mean, beyond a certain point, up to a certain point, children take everything that you tell them literally. So be very careful what you tell them. It will be, you'll be surprised to find that they have done exactly what you said.
Well, let's talk about career, your pathway to the screens. Yes. Like, before we get to the screens, there is there in between. What was the journey like?
Well, I am a firm believer, and I think my life goes to show that nothing good comes easy. Which is something that would bring me to a point about being passionate about what you're pursuing. My path to the screen has not been an easy one. It's not been direct. You know, while you're making your plans, you always have a direct path from where you are to where you want to get to. Like, you know, you can even set timelines. Like, by this year, I want to have graduated. By this year, I want to have finished my attachment. By this year, I want to have found a job, a stable job paying well. By this year, I want to be in a position where I have my own house, moved out of my parents. By this year, I want to be married and all that. But then you find out that life has... I don't want to say life has its own plans, because that would mean that life is somehow sentient, which it is not. But life, there's a way that life just doesn't work out according to our plans. And if you are not passionate about what you are pursuing, then more often than not, you will give up when you're faced by challenges. And there's a reason I say challenges, because you'll not just face one. Some challenges come in just sometimes you will face only one challenge, and some challenges are compounded, where you meet one and then you break through it and you find, wow, that was just the tip of this challenge. So I have to keep on going and going and going until you finally break through. And that has been my life. That has been my journey to the screens. At one point, if someone had told me that you would be working on TV, I would have called him a liar, because I had completely given up. Not just on my career, not just on my passion, but also given up on life because of the challenges that had come my way. And I just could not see how I would overcome them to get to where I want to be. But then again, I do not believe that there is any such thing as a self-made man. When people say that no man is an island, I believe that that has proven to be true, especially to me, because there has been a team of people who have come my way, and they have molded and shaped me into who I am right now. And it is something that I look back at and I am super, super grateful for.
There's a young person watching you out there and saying, if Kevin made it, maybe that's a story, or I could not make it. But I want you to encourage that person. But before we do that, let's take a short commercial break. This is Let's Talk with Wairimu, an interesting one today where I'm getting to interview my co-host and just to know who is this man, Kelvin Mungai. Welcome back. This is the Morning Dew Show here at Dissect TV. The segment is Let's Talk with Wairimu, and today I'm having an interesting moment. Well, I interview my co-host Kelvin Mungai just to know who is this man. And before we went on break, I had requested you to talk to that one person who is watching us regardless of their age and thinking that maybe those are just made-up stories from people on the screens, because there's always that narrative that everyone on screen has an ugly story behind them. I don't know why, but I think it's because good things take time to process, right?
Indeed,
So
they do.
I just want you to look into that camera and encourage that one person who thinks maybe these are just made up stories.
Well, it is true. You should not believe everything that you see on the screen, and neither should you believe everything that you hear on the radio. There is a lot of content out there that is not real, and you should therefore not believe it. But then again, there is no way of knowing what is real and what is not in most cases. So my advice as far as content on media it goes, it would be to filter out, take what you want and leave out the rest. Now, to anyone who could be struggling with life, wow, this kind of hits hard because I have been in your position, and if I told you that things would get better, maybe you'd not be in a position to believe me, but they do actually get better. The first thing that you have to do is prioritize yourself, love yourself, take good care of yourself, because if an opportunity does come your way and you are not in the right mental state to actualize it fully, then that opportunity will slip right through your fingers. Eat well, drink a lot of water. The other thing would be to take risks. That is something that a lot of people do not do. People are scared of what people would say about them if they saw them in a certain position doing a certain thing. But for all the risk that you take, there is a reward. It may take you a while to get to where you want to be, but progress is progress, no matter how slow or how small it is. The final thing that I would advise you to do is pursue what you are passionate in. Because passion will drive you through the times when life gets inexplicably hard and you feel like you want to give up. Then your passion, if you are pursuing what you are passionate about, then your passion will drive you through the moments when you are just down, low on energy, feeling lethargic, and you want to just quit. So do what you love.
Well, a lot of especially young people are very choosy on opportunities. And I know there are times maybe in your life you had just to do what you had to do for that moment in mind that maybe you're going to learn. I want you to talk to those young people who feel maybe this is a lesser opportunity, maybe evaluating their education and the kind of opportunity that presents itself at that particular moment.
Yes. There is something that is more valuable than education.
Yes.
That at least is what is true in the modern world. And that one thing is experience. The more experience that you have in a number of fields, I came to find out that the better you are prepared to bounce back when life kicks you down. For instance, there's a story of this journalist who lost his position, lost his job. It's something that has been trending on social media and even sometimes in the dailies. So he lost his job as a journalist in one of the stations, and he resulted in touting. And before he was a journalist, he was a tout. So he already had a backup plan in such a way that his life did not stop when his job did. He found it easier to bounce back on his feet, and who knows, maybe in the near future he'll be back to being a journalist. So regardless of the field that you go into, and I will tell you that there is no path to greatness that is easy. Well, except if you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. But for most of us, there is no easy path to greatness. And by greatness, I mean our definition of greatness. The person that we want to be. There is no direct path to it. You will always have to take some corners, you know, fall into some pitfalls and face a lot of adversities and challenges before you become who you think you should be. So take the opportunity. That is the advice I'd give to anyone who has an opportunity, who is feeling like that opportunity may be below where they should be. It is like it is below their level. Take that opportunity. It also builds your character. It builds your, well, you get to build yourself through such opportunities, so that when the time does come for you to get what you think you deserve, you will be able to, one, caution yourself just in case life does go sideways, and two, your character will speak more volumes of you than your words ever will. So it will be easier for you to advance in whatever field it is that you feel like you should be in.
Is TV giving you pressure?
Is it TV?
Does it come with pressure of life?
Well, yes, TV does come with its pressure, but then again, what career field doesn't?
Do you ever have those moments when you're walking in the streets and people just give you that weird look, kind of? I experienced that a lot, though.
Well, I don't think it has gotten to that point exactly for me yet, but I still do a kind of sort of a freak out moment when someone calls me by my name and I'm like, oh my God, I have met this person, I cannot remember where, I cannot remember his name, and then I remember, ah man, I'm on TV.
So like you have to constantly remind yourself.
Yeah. There are people who will know me and I will not know them. There are people who will recognize me, call me by my name, and it's not because we have met anywhere else. So it's something I'm adjusting to. I will not say that I have fully adjusted to it yet, but it's something I am adjusting to. You know, not freaking out every time someone recognizes me. Yeah. The
deep voice, is it trained or is it hello?
Well, there is this quote that girls like, ladies like to say repeatedly, that this is what my mama gave me. Well, this is what my father gave to me.
Speaking of ladies.
Oh God.
They are a lucky one out there.
Well, that is a door I'm gonna keep shut, because I have seen, I know from experience that the people who open that door do not have an easy time keeping it, closing it again. So, is she there? Is she not there? Do I know? Do I not know?
Okay. We'll send our journalists to come and find out that for us. So we are on the lookout. We are watching. We'll send one of our own to come and investigate whether there is one very lucky one. Well, but away from that and into the conversation that we were supposed to have today, there is a lot of times there is company relations in an organization. What is your opinion on that?
I think it is not easy getting along with people, especially because you have a different perspective of life than everyone else does. You know, your perspective of life is shaped by the kind of life that you have lived. So where you see something that you are optimistic about, someone else may look at it and be pessimistic. And all these different people and different characteristics and different personalities somehow come together at the workplace. So the one thing that I do try to do on a daily basis while at work is to do my best to get along with people. That, of course, does not mean that I hide from conflict, because if conflict arises, then it should be handled, I believe it should be handled in a way that it enhances the relationship between two people, other than break it down completely. So when conflict does arise, I find that the best way to deal with it is to talk it out. Regardless of who it is with. You can approach conflict with your boss, you can approach conflict with your teammates, you can approach conflict with those people who support the company, you know, with everyone else in the company. You can approach conflict with them without necessarily breaking down the relationship that exists between you and any one of those other people. So just keep in mind, at the back of your mind every day, that you are different, you are unique, and the way that you look at issues is not the same way that someone else will look at issues. And also keep that perspective when you are approaching someone that you may think that you have conflict with, because it's not everyone that you conflict with has a conflict with you.
Sure. Your love for cars.
My love for cars, not really cars, but machines.
Oh, your love for machines then.
It is something that started when I was a teenager. My father is a mechanical engineer. I think from ever since I was a child, I would crawl underneath vehicles with him. You know, I had my own set of overalls that my mom would dress me in every time that my dad would go into the workshop, or every time that he was working on a car near home, because regardless of what I was wearing, I was going under that vehicle with him. I think before I joined nursery, I was familiar with all the tools that my father had in his garage at the time. It's just that I didn't have the strength to, you know, operate and repair. But if he asked me for a fixed 14 or a combined 12, I would be able to go into his toolbox, pick out the correct spanner, and bring it to him. But then my love for machines actually grew way much during my teenage years. I remember the first time that I saw a superbike racing against a supercar on this TV show that was called Top Gear at the time. And that was on TV. Okay, I don't come from one of the families where TV time is prioritized, you know. My dad would rather buy, you know, do something else with the money than pay for DSTV. So at one point I was at my friend's house and he had this diskette of Top Gear. And he was watching that episode and I saw it, and I actually determined that this is what I'm going to focus my energy on for the next few months. So at the time, Top Gear was in season 19, and I went and bought from season 1 to season 19. I would actually set my alarm, because I would sleep at around 12 or 1, and I would set my alarm for 3 hours from the time I slept, so that I can wake up and continue watching Top Gear for the whole day. Without doing anything else. I mean, I used to have very short breaks for meals, and that just reignited the spark that was inside of me for vehicles and cars and machines and superbikes especially.
To know, like, what kind of machine you'd love to own. Like, that love is too much. In near future.
That is a question that most people who admit to loving machines will have a hard time answering. Because I have favorite cars in all the classes and all the categories of cars. You know, if we talk about luxury saloons, I have a car that I want from that category. If we talk about SUVs, there is a car that I want in that category. If we talk about, you know, hatchbacks, there's a car that I want from that. If we talk about sports cars, supercars, hypercars.
So basically, like, in all categories, you have a dream car. But
yes.
Again, I know you want to transform that love to educating people about cars. So let's talk about that.
Educating people about cars. We are
Or
moving.
entertaining per se?
Yes, well, entertainment sometimes goes hand in hand with educating. So we are moving into a time as a society. We are moving into a time where vehicles will be part of each and every household. And buying a car is the easiest part. Sustaining that vehicle is way more difficult because it's not just the regular servicing. It's not just topping up with good fuel. It's not just checking that to ensure that your tires have the right amount of air pressure inside of them. It's not just about you know, taking your car to the car wash every now and then. There's so much more that goes into maintaining a vehicle. I mean, you have to understand the behavior of your vehicle, because cars are much like people. You know, you don't just wake up one morning and you're like, oh, I am so sick. There are certain symptoms that you get before you get to the point where you have to go to hospital. And vehicles also give us these tiny symptoms before they finally break down. So if you are capable of noticing and picking up on those signals that your car gives you, then you'll be able to get it to the mechanic before it breaks down, and the issue will be resolved, and it will also be very, very pocket friendly for you in the long run. So about educating people, that is on a segment, on a show on Dissect TV called Accelerate. We are aiming at growing the passion that people have about cars and about machines, and also telling you how you can extend the life of your car.
When can we watch it?
It comes on Saturday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. We just had our first episode air last Saturday. The second one will be airing this Saturday, and well, every consequent Saturday from after that, we will have an episode ready for viewing.
So it's every Saturday 8 p.m.
No, 6 to 7 p.m.
Every Saturday 6 to 7 p.m. Catch up with Kelvin Mungai on Accelerate. It's the new show on Dissect TV. It's about motors. I don't know the name, so I don't know what to say about that. So it's about cars. Let me just simplify.
Well, cars and a bit of bikes every now and then.
Yeah, it's motor. And it's in depth, so it's a show I'm sure you don't want to miss. There's lots and lots to learn about what to do to your car in case you have one.
Yes.
Well,
and also how you can get to have one of your own if you do not have one, or if you want more.
Yeah, that's the interesting bit. Well, where do we see Kelvin in like 2 years? I don't want to say 5 years is too long, like in 2 years.
In 2 years, if my plans go through exactly how I have planned them, which is being very, very optimistic, but if they do go through, then Kelvin will be the face of a lot of inspiring content. You know, not just educative. I intend to show people that regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're facing, you can rise and be whoever it is that you want to be. Social media.
Yes. For the lovers who want to. Oh, your fans.
Social media. I go by Kelvin Waithaka on Facebook. I go by Kelvin Mungai on Instagram. And Kelvin MW on Twitter, I think. You would have a better chance of getting to me via my email address, which is waithakakelvin55@gmail.com.
Wow. That's Kelvin there, wrapping up our Let's Talk with Wairimu segment. It's been a good one interviewing you.
It's the first time I've been interviewed. So.
Well, it's one of the most difficult interviews, by the way, interviewing a co-host. But that's it. I hope you know now the man behind Oh, the man on your screens, the man behind that deep voice. And yes, so let's take a short commercial break. Remember to take a glass of water from Regis Premium Water and have a very beautiful day. I'm coming back in a short while.